Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode for the fans. Not necessarily but I had a very stress-inducing wild card weekend, and I feel like I annoyed the heck out of you with it.
Yeah, maybe a little.
Man, it was. I will say I'm gonna go ahead and say I'm sorry. One, that game was a roller coaster of a game to watch.
Yes, it's true. It was.
And then two, I just had to send you the memes I was finding after that game finished.
Yeah, as a little bit of an extra context for those who are listening tonight, um, literally Shane was giving me like a play-by-play for almost every second of the game, and I have the game in front of me. I'm seeing these things happen, and I'm just getting these texts, ding, 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 like every few seconds, and it's just
Dude, you should know, if I'm able to watch my team, I'm going to be messaging.
yes. No,
to be.
I learned that the hard way after the game against the Titans.
Oh man, the Titans one was. That one I think was more intense than the Charger one. The Charger one was just like, what the heck is happening right now?
That's a good point.
I will say, I was getting a ton of messages during the Chargers game, so. You didn't get all of it. You got a good portion of it, though. But man, with the, I was kind of sad because I was kind of rooting for some more upsets from this past week.
We didn't really see a lot of that, did we?
I think the biggest upset, but I don't even know if we can call it an upset, was the Giants beating the Vikings, which we did talk about that the Vikings were frauds. So
It wasn't entirely a surprise, honestly.
I mean, I think the biggest shock, honestly, from this past week was how close almost every single game was.
And I think it was a thing. We've talked about this before, that a lot of it is just because there's been division rivalries that are in place there. You know what I mean? I'm mostly like referring to, like, say for example, the Bengals and the Ravens. But on another note too, for the first half of the 49ers and Seahawks game, the Seahawks
That was
held the lead.
close.
It was close. Yeah.
I mean, we had the NFC West, we had the AFC East, the AFC North, all doing divisional showdowns against each other, and then the rest were just kind of like, okay.
It was interesting. It was interesting. And we're going to talk about that. Talk about at least some of the highlights from each one of them. Obviously, the big one for the 49ers and Seahawks game came from Brock Purdy, San Francisco 49ers rookie quarterback. He shook off all the playoff game nerves. 4 touchdowns, over the Seattle Seahawks. Good for him for pulling that out there, especially in the second half to blow the game wide open. He now joins Dan Marino, I believe, as the youngest quarterback to ever accomplish such a feat in the
I
postseason.
think he does. And I mean,
It's go ahead and double check on that. It's a good win for the 49ers. It's a statement win as they move on to the divisional round. But we'll get into this a little bit too as we talk about the Cowboys and the Buccaneers. Buccaneers are an easier team than the 49ers when it comes to what the Cowboys face this week. But on the flip side, the Cowboys are a much more difficult team than the Seahawks regarding what the 49ers have to face this week, which is to be expected. We're getting the better and better teams as we go further into the playoffs.
right.
Wild card's over. The teams that we kind of said, oh, they snuck in there, be that the 7 seed or a 4 seed that had to finish with a losing record. Looking at you, Bucks. They're out. They're gone.
Bye bye, Brady.
Now what? Exactly. But here's the thing that was interesting: the AFC East thriller. So
Mm-hmm.
Shane, last week, excuse me, in our podcast, we were talking about how the Bills would basically just blow out the Dolphins. We were expecting that. Tua Tagovailoa wasn't playing. We're expecting the Bills to just be dynamic, and there were struggles there. Josh Allen, look, he's a dynamic quarterback. He's an MVP candidate, and it's really interesting saying that because even though Allen is an MVP candidate, he leads all quarterbacks in most turnovers.
It's very interesting.
Throughout the entire season. So that shows that he's really, really good, but at the same time, throws a lot of interceptions. And that was the case here in this game where he threw 2 interceptions, allowing the Dolphins to kind of scrape it out there, make the game close. And as we saw, mostly just because of weird gaffes that the Dolphins coach did, I mean, I just delay of game, making decisions. I don't really know how to explain it. That also
Vaping
helps
on
the
the
Bills.
sideline.
What'd you say?
Vaping on the sideline.
Oh, jeez. 34-31 win for the Bills. Um,
It was a
I
nail
guess really
biter.
it was, and really the only question that we could have asked you, and I know we'll talk about this in another game too. Do you think the Dolphins could have won this game if Tua was healthy?
Honestly, I would say yes.
I mean, they beat the Bills before.
Yeah, and honestly, if they were that close without Tua and they were. I don't even think. Was Teddy the one playing that game?
Oh, it was Skylar Thompson.
So it was their third string quarterback, the one that was playing.
Exactly.
So to me, that just says, yeah, I think they could have won if they had Tua, who has been cleared by doctors to play for next season.
That's good. That's good news for him, especially if the Dolphins are hoping to actually get a run where they win the division next year, which is certainly a possibility.
Yeah, I mean, I really want the Bills to go to Super Bowl, but man, if they play like that, it's not going to happen.
Oh, exactly. Another strange game too that we talked about, it's the very next one, is the Bengals and the Ravens.
Oh,
Because that game was a lot closer than we expected. And as I was watching this game live, and I remember, when the Ravens started to gain all that momentum, I was like, it's over. Sorry, Bengals, you're done. You know what I mean? And
right.
then momentum shifted just like that with that 98-yard return touchdown. Interestingly enough, by a lineman, and he's just hauling down the field, and you got Mark Andrews of all peoples with wheels to catch up to him. Um, but he scores a touchdown. The Bengals get the lead and the momentum eventually into that victory, which may I add was close. The Ravens almost caught the ball there for that last touchdown. Didn't happen. But if Lamar Jackson were their quarterback, who he clearly is the MVP candidate, as in he is the best part of that team. When he plays well, the Ravens play well. If he had been healthy, I don't know.
I mean, Lamar Jackson would have had the wheels to get up and run all the way back and tackle the recovery and prevented the touchdown.
Right, right.
Oh my gosh, that I watched that play. I'm like, how did this just happen? How? I'm like, I thought the Ravens had this and we're gonna knock out the Bengals.
The Ravens, if they want to have a chance to be on top of the division, to keep the Bengals at bay, they need to keep this in mind. They need to figure out some different things when it comes to the pass game and strengthening that O line, because it's the same situation as the Chicago Bears are dealing with right now. The flip side is the Ravens are good enough to make the playoffs. My concern is you have players like Lamar Jackson and Justin Fields who are eventually going to be, excuse me, like Robert Griffin III, and they are just going to be doing all this running, which looks really, really cool and shows off their legs as quarterbacks, but they're going to keep getting hit and keep getting injured. I feel like that could continue to be the future for Justin Fields, and it's clearly been that situation for Lamar Jackson. He struggles with health.
Yeah,
They
I
need to
mean,
figure out some different options besides always running him.
yeah, the Jaguars coaching even tried to basically tell Trevor Lawrence that he needs to stop running the ball. Just throw it away to keep your stay healthy. We don't need you to get hurt.
It's a thing that's kind of becoming common around, quarterbacks, but
I
it's a
I,
risky move.
I think it also just kind of leads into with how badly Tua's been hurt this season. It's like we need our quarterbacks to stay healthy. A lot of quarterbacks have gotten hurt this season.
No, it's very true. Very, very true.
All
Moving
right.
on here, you want to talk about the first woe?
The choke.
Yes,
Oh my gosh. So
exactly.
the LA Chargers are on the losing end of the third highest postseason comeback in history. The Chargers were up against the Jacksonville Jaguars 27 to nothing near the end of the first half. Trevor Lawrence had thrown 4 interceptions by then scored. The Jaguars scored at the end of halftime. They come out of the second half and they just rally and come out to win the game 31 to 30 as time expired. A lot of records were broken that day.
Mm-hmm.
For example, the first ever quarterback to throw 4 interceptions in the first half and to win a playoff game, that was one of them. I saw.
I remember.
Oh, go ahead.
I remember. I remember looking at the thing as far as, Trevor Lawrence. Joins. I think it was Ben Roethlisberger from a couple of years ago, being able to throw 4 touchdowns and 4 interceptions
Hmm.
within like the same game.
Yeah, and it's also I saw someone post a Brady statistic. I'm like, oh boy, here we go. And they're like, here's how many games Brady has won throwing 4 interceptions. He's 0-6. Trevor Lawrence is 1-1. And I'm like, oh boy, I do not want this comparison.
Yeah, let's don't go there.
I'm like, I don't need a Brady situation. I'm like, I love my team, but I do not want Brady on my team or a player like Brady on my team. I want a good player. Don't get me wrong. I just don't want a I guess, attitude kind of person like Brady, or the person that everyone's going to compare them to.
hmm
Like, let him be his own player. Anyways,
But no, there's always a comparison's gotta be there. But I get it. I get it.
oh yeah. Oh, I'm gonna let you talk about this one because I feel like you're excited to talk about this one.
Clearly this one was a really exciting one for me, but for obvious reasons. Like a lot of the other NFC North team fans that aren't Vikings fans, this was a great moment, and that was seeing the Vikings, who we knew to be frauds, per much expectation. They were upset by the New York Giants. It was a close game again too, 31-24. But Justin Jefferson was limited to only 47 yards. The Vikings literally made Daniel Jones look like Patrick Mahomes. I mean,
Mm,
he had a great game. Saquon Barkley had a great game. The Giants looked elite, which is saying something because I saw a statistic talking about how when the Giants have won playoff games, they go all the way and win the Super Bowl. If they, it's either that or they don't win a single playoff game. So it's interesting to
that's
look at that.
interesting.
Yep. So
Oh
little something
boy.
to keep an eye on there. But obviously this wasn't much of a surprise for Minnesota. They don't have a defense. Kirk Cousins played okay. Let's be honest here. It's not like he played horribly. You can't rest it on him as the quarterback. The offense did the best that they could. Just the defense was not able to hold back the Giants, and that ended up kind of being the doom of the Vikings. Felt
Yeah.
good for me. Not gonna lie, felt good as someone who doesn't like the Vikings. I mean, yeah, I don't hate them as much as I hate the Packers,
Or as
but
Tom Grossi calls them, the reincarnation of Satan. Oh man. I will say, with the Giants' victory, this is the first time since I think the year 2000 that 3 teams in one division are in the divisional round for playoffs.
yes, and that's something that's been really surprising.
Imagine if the Commanders made it and the Commanders were in that as well, and I'm like, wow, the entire NFC showdown would just be all NFC East teams.
Ugh,
That'd be weird.
no kidding.
But speaking of
Anyway,
NFC East teams, my gosh. I don't even know what to make of this. Okay, so they had a good regular season and they did win 31 to 14 against what we have said many times is a bad Tampa Bay Buccaneers team. They kind of just crept into the playoffs and immediately got kicked out. But the Cowboys kicker, Brett Maher, whatever you want to call it,
Maher.
Maher, made history as the first kicker to miss 4 straight point after attempts. Oh my gosh, he missed 4 in a row. Oh gosh. I was watching bits and pieces of the Manning cast during that, and I was watching Peyton Manning get angry as he just kept missing and
That's what I was
missing.
going to talk about. When Maher missed the third one, I loved how Peyton just like got him. He's like, "You got to be kidding me!" and like just stood up like super frustrated.
Thing is, Peyton Manning never played for the Cowboys or anything, so I'm just like, I love that Peyton Manning's being heated about this because that shows how much he loves football.
Right.
Oh boy, but yeah, that was. I think there was like a whole. I'm not sure if it was a real tweet, but it was a meme tweet where Jerry Jones was saying, "If anyone is a kicker, please come down. We have a jersey for you." I was just like, oh. Thing is, I think Brett had only missed 1 extra point the entire season so far.
Exactly. He had a very good regular season, and then all of a sudden this happened. It
I
was weird. Let's just say that. It was just
yeah.
really funny. Just like basically, I don't
Is it
know,
gonna
just
happen again?
seeing the reactions from everyone, from Jerry Jones to Mike McCarthy to Dak Prescott to the Manning brothers. Because on one hand you got Peyton who like stands up in frustration, and Eli who just sits there like a fish out of water, mouth open and everything. Like, what's going on?
Or you get Dak Prescott on the sideline. He's like, forget kicking field goals. We're just gonna go for two every time now.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of which, I realized something last night too, and I'm really interested to see what he's going to say about it. But one of my private drum students, um, his dad, I noticed the other day. I was like, oh my gosh, he looks a lot like Eli Manning. All right, I'm interested to see what's going to happen
Oh
when I tell him, like,
no!
you kind of look like Eli Manning.
Oh no!
I don't know if he's a Chiefs fan, so I don't know if he's going to be like appreciative or offended by that.
Right. Oh man. Speaking of the Chiefs, we have our first divisional matchup this week, which is Saturday, January 21st. I believe it's at 2:35 Eastern Time, 2:30
Oh
Eastern
my
Time,
god.
and it's the Kansas City Chiefs #1 versus Jacksonville Jaguars. Chiefs are hosting, and honestly, I feel like a lot of people are saying that this is gonna be a blowout game. I don't think it will be.
I think it would actually be a lot closer than we're thinking. And part of that we're talking about, uh, we had a little bit of this discussion earlier before we even went on, and that's the fact that, the Jaguars, they've shown that they can be frisky. You even mentioned earlier we were talking about like the chaos meter. The Jaguars are at the top when it comes to the chaos meter.
No one knows what's gonna happen.
Exactly. So here's what I'm saying, and our score predictions reflect that. We both said that the Chiefs win this game 27-24. We keep it close, and that's the thing is. And Shane, you elaborated on this a little bit. More than likely, the Chargers' defense is tougher than the Chiefs' defense. There's nothing stellar about the Chiefs' defense. If the Jaguars' offense can break through that, then they have a chance there. It's more how can the Jaguars' defense adapt to holding off
Patrick
the Kansas
Mahomes.
City offense, which is
It's gonna be
yeah,
Mahomes and Kelsey that they need to worry about, in all honesty.
pretty much.
And if I'm looking at the roster, I don't see a good enough player to kind of lock down Travis Kelsey enough.
So maybe that's the problem there, huh?
Yeah, because I believe it's normally a linebacker's job to kind of watch out for the tight end, because linebackers are usually a little bit bigger and faster. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at our linebackers. I'm like, okay, we got Devin Lloyd. He started off hot this season, but he's kind of gone down a little bit. Chad Muma hasn't done a whole ton. I'm like, if we move Trayvon Walker or Josh Allen outside, I'm like, maybe, but still, Travis Kelsey's another monster when it comes to tight ends.
It's true, and I don't know how they're gonna really get a good way to stop him.
I feel like he will have to be double teamed almost the entire game, but then you still got Jerick McKinnon who's gonna pop up out of nowhere, and then they got so many just different weapons where even if one weapon isn't like a top graded wide receiver like Tyreek Hill is, they're all like really good options to move forward with, so Patrick Mahomes can just fling the ball to whoever he needs to.
Very good point.
And Mahomes is very, very fast because in the Super Bowl loss against the Buccaneers, he ran the entire football field basically 5 times.
True.
Oh boy.
Very true.
Anyways, matchup monster. I feel like I already kind of elaborated to mine. I'm saying Travis Kelsey.
I think I have to agree with that for this one. If we're going on the Jacksonville Jaguar side, it comes down to what Trevor Lawrence can do. So if we're
Mm-hmm.
putting one on the Jaguar side, let's go with Lawrence.
I might even say ETN, honestly.
Think so? Okay.
I think so. Because I don't know if you saw Trevor Lawrence's non throwing thumb got
Uh huh.
injured during the Chargers game.
Okay.
Yeah, it got stepped on a bit and it was cut open and bleeding. They had to tape it up and throw him back out there. But yeah, I feel like they might move a little bit away from the passing game and focus more on the run game. But I feel like Travis Kelsey is going to be the monster of the game.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Because I'm even like going back and looking. Yeah, the last time they faced off, he had 6 catches for 81 yards and a touchdown. They will need to stop him.
And it might be rough.
Yeah. Anyways.
Next one up, Eagles and Giants at Lincoln Financial Field, also on Saturday. And for this one, we both picked the Eagles to win. You have it a little bit more spread out there score-wise. You have it being 38-24, Eagles win, whereas I have it being 37-33. I'm more taking into consideration Jalen Hurts' health and the fact that the Giants could be frisky in this game. So with that being said, my matchup monster in this game has to be Jalen Hurts. If he does well, the Eagles win. If he
You
doesn't,
know,
well,
yeah, I was like, I don't think I can disagree with you. I don't think I can unless the Eagles defense just steps up big time, but I don't know if they necessarily will against this game. I think cuz division matchups are always tough to gauge.
that's a very good point.
But I'll say Jalen Hurts for now, and this could be a very interesting game.
I would agree.
All right. Next up, we are moving back to the AFC, where we got the game that never happened. We're getting a second chance at it, where we had the Buffalo Bills taking on the Cincinnati Bengals at Highmark Stadium. Honestly, looking at this game, one, I feel bad for the Bengals.
Yeah,
They're
it
like,
didn't. They are on the short end of the stick for this.
they got on the short end of the stick by the whole like, oh well, this game between them's not gonna matter or anything, but they gave all the favoritism to the Chiefs and the Bills, and the Bengals would have potentially had to go to a coin flip against the Ravens, which, oh my gosh.
I'm glad. I'm almost kind of glad it didn't get to that point. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I've also seen people saying this like, why aren't the Bills and Bengals playing at a neutral location as well then?
Yeah.
Because if we're being fair, the Bengals were winning at the time of Damar Hamlin's injury, which thankfully he's doing better now.
Absolutely. But I don't know. I feel like this is just it's the way it's meant to be. I don't really know what else to say about it, you know what I mean? I
Right.
feel like judging though based off of how the like both of these teams performed in the wild card, it could still go either way and they almost seem like it's even ground. You know what I mean? The Bills struggled against the Dolphins, Bengals struggled against the Ravens. It could go either way. And we've said that here because you're saying the Bengals win by 1 point, 23-22, and I say the Bills crank it out 24-20. We got a difference here of opinion.
Mm-hmm.
If there is going to be a Bills win by this, again, I have to go with it being on the quarterback. Josh Allen can't commit turnovers. He has to play well in order for the Bills to win this game. Josh Allen, matchup monster.
I don't disagree with that, but, I'm picking the Bengals, so I think I gotta go. I'm not saying Joe Burrow. I'm gonna say Joe Mixon.
With as far as like the run defense for the Bills being able to contain Nixon.
Yeah. I mean,
See, if I'm gonna go on the Bengals side, I actually would go with Jamar Chase. I hear what you're saying. I just feel like Mixon has not been much of a
you
factor
know
lately,
what?
and
I
it's
think you're
more what
making a good
Jamar Chase
point.
can do.
I think you're making a good point, but I still don't want to go with Jamar Chase. I feel like he's too big of a target, if you know what I mean.
Right, he got a few good looks in the game against the Ravens, but I'll
Which,
admit that obviously the MVP for that game against the Ravens ended up being that defense, specifically that lineman Sam Hubbard who scored the touchdown.
so I think I'm gonna go with their number two and say T. Higgins then,
Okay,
because we've seen T. Higgins flash when the defense focuses too much on Jamar Chase.
true. Okay, that brings us to our last one, which is the San Francisco 49ers versus the Dallas Cowboys at Levi Stadium. You got
Oh boy, the Cowboys.
we both got the 49ers winning this game. You say 24-21, I say 31-20. Look, a lot of it again comes down to, and again, when I say this, don't expect that I'm saying the matchup monster is going to be Brock Purdy. But part of it is that the quarterback has to perform well. The quarterback has to perform well on both sides of the ball for this. And for the 49ers, if Brock is able to adjust, then obviously they're going to have no problem with the Cowboys. the Cowboys defense, I know there's been a lot of talk from Micah Parsons as far as, oh, we can handle the 49ers and blah, blah, blah. But I feel like let's see what happens because the 49ers are not the Buccaneers. You know what I mean?
So, with that being said, Brock Purdy's your matchup monster.
No, he's not. He's not. Get me out of here. My matchup monster in this game is actually going to be George Kittle.
Oh, wow. You're trusting in Kittle?
It's worked out so far pretty much as soon as Brock Purdy became the QB.
Man, I'm not gonna lie. I really think the 49ers should dump Trey Lance.
I would agree.
Purdy's done much more than Lance has ever done.
True,
Oh,
true.
I'm very interested, and here's what my matchup monster is gonna be. I want to say like CMC or Devo or someone, but I'm like, none of that feels good to me. You know what just feels good to me?
What's that? Just the
Defense.
defense
Just
as a whole.
defense. Both sides. What this game's going to come down to is which defense plays harder.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
I mean, honestly, like if I'm looking at the NFL, I think these two teams probably have the best overall defenses in the league.
Yes, and obviously we're talking about the fact too that these two teams also have, the top two candidates for defensive player of the year.
Yep. And I mean, it's gonna be like, okay, Purdy is still a rookie. He's still whatever, but he's got a good team around him that can rally. Dak has experience on Purdy, but I feel like the offense may not be as strong as the 49ers. But I really don't know.
And
I think they're gonna be kind of even ground for the most part.
I feel like the 49ers are slightly better, but hear me out on this. What it's going to come down to is can the Cowboys O-line contain players like Nick Bosa? Because we've seen you've got players like Trent Williams and Mike McGlinchey who they've done it before, they can do it again. They can keep Micah Parsons away from the quarterback. You know what I mean?
Right.
So we know that the 49ers are capable of it, and the Cowboys O-line do the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think that this might be the best game of the week to watch. I mean,
I would think so. It's hard to say. Bills and Bengals, if they play the way we expect them to play, that's going to be the thriller.
oh yeah. I mean, honestly, I'm looking at all these games. Like, honestly, none of these games sound that bad.
No, I think they'll all be entertaining.
Chiefs and Jaguars is going to be chaos because no one really knows what's going to happen there.
Yeah, exactly.
Eagles and Giants are having showdown number 3 of the season. And
Bills and Bengals have two of the most explosive offenses that we know of, and they're having a rematch after what happened to DeMar Hamlin. And
and
49ers
so
and Dallas are complete teams battling each other.
I'm looking at like Bills and Bengals. I'm like, man, are the Bills gonna play with a chip on their shoulder? Or are they all gonna be like respectful and kumbaya like they were when the injury happened, or is it going to be a lot higher tension between the two teams?
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh man, it's just I'm interested to kind of see all of these games happen.
It'll be good, that's for sure.
And if the Jaguars win, I am blowing up your phone.
Oh yeah, I'm blowing up my phone during the game anyway.
I think I'll be kind of quiet for this one because I don't expect many good things to happen.
I call bull on that. We'll see what happens.
Hey, my wife already has to deal with me, so.
Yeah, well, and from secondhand embarrassment, my wife has to deal with you too.
You just hand your wife your phone and just be like, look what this idiot's doing.
Have been telling her what I did tell her what your text messages were, and she's just rolling her eyes. She was like, "Oh boy!" And when you posted on social media afterwards, she was like, she really wanted to comment and be like, "You're a freaking nerd."
I love him so much though. She is so funny. Oh my
Man.
gosh.
All right.
Okay.
Moving on here. Now we're just going to be strictly talking about quarterbacks. That's
Oh.
literally what the rest of the episode's going to be. We're going to be talking about the quarterbacks for next season for a couple of teams that have question marks around them. And then when we get to our For the Fun, we're going to still be talking about quarterbacks just from this season. So let's drop hello, words. What word am I looking for here? Let's jump into this part here, this segment where we talk about these teams that could potentially have a new quarterback next season. We're examining the teams that may be getting a new quarterback this upcoming season, and we're predicting which quarterback will be joining which franchise. So first off, New York Jets. There seems to be a high consensus that Zach Wilson will not be the starting quarterback next year.
I mean, he's been QB3 half of the season, so.
Yep. Who do you think is going there in his place?
Oh. Honestly, I. The Jets
I
don't really
got one.
have that high of a draft pick, do they?
Oh, they will not be drafting. They will be picking up a veteran, and I have a theory as who it's going to be.
Okay, let's hear
My
it.
theory, my theory is it'll be Derek Carr.
Carr?
I think Carr will end up being the veteran that they pay good money to have go to the Jets. The Jets owner has said if he can get an experienced veteran quarterback, that's what he will pay for. He believes it's the last piece. Now, on one hand, maybe Carr has more time to properly react with a capable defense, which is not something you really see entirely within the Las Vegas Raiders organization. Now, the Jets have a good defense right now and an offense that could go well with the right quarterback. I don't think Derek Carr is a bad quarterback. I just think things are unlucky in the AFC West, partly because it's a very competitive division. I want to
Yeah.
see what would happen potentially with him in the New York Jets.
I don't hate it, but I'm just sitting here. I'm like, it's hard for me to picture Derek Carr as a Jet.
Because all you've ever seen him as is a Raider.
I'm even just picturing him in a Jet uniform and just doesn't look right to me.
Right. And I'm not saying it's going to happen. That's just my prediction. And you'll have to follow me for a couple of these other ones here as we go through them.
Okay, so let's move on to our next one. We have the Baltimore Ravens. So my only question to you is, do you think they keep Lamar?
Yes.
Okay, I think we're in agreement on that.
They have to. So here's the thing that's the situation with Lamar. One, they know that their games are best when he plays with them.
Hmm.
And the thing that they have done contract-wise, they paid Roquan Smith. They made him the highest-paid middle linebacker. They did that so they could franchise tag Lamar and then figure out how to pay him the following year.
Okay.
Lamar
And
stays with the Ravens.
okay, interesting. Got it. Man, I am currently I have pulled up now the 2023 NFL free agents for the quarterbacks, and man, this is a list,
Our next team is the Raiders. Do you
right?
have a prediction for who's going to the Raiders? Because I do.
I want to hear yours because I have maybe an idea or two, but I don't know how strong it is compared to what you're about to say.
It's Tom Brady.
I felt like you were gonna say Brady, but I yeah, I feel like Tom Brady is just the right answer because I don't think the 49ers will go after Brady.
No, they won't. They know they're set with the situation that they have. You know what I mean? They have to decide between Lance and Purdy. They're gonna let Jimmy walk.
Which
They have to decide between Lance and Purdy.
and both Lance and Purdy are on rookie contracts, so you can keep both of them and have them compete
Yes,
on the off seasons. Put the winner in front.
exactly.
I mean, that this is why I've heard a lot of rumor is Brady going to L or going to Vegas as well. But I'm like, you going to backtrack. You want to know who I've heard he's going to go to? I've heard he's going to go to the Jets a little bit as well.
I just don't see that
I
happening.
don't
I
see
really
it
don't.
either, especially like competing against the Patriots 2 times a year. I'm like, I don't see Brady.
Exactly.
I'm like, I don't see Brady going to go to the Jets, but Brady has had a lot of success on high caliber elite defenses.
It's true, he has, which is not something that we're really seeing from the Raiders per se. But I think what Brady's situation is right now, I think as he gets older, he wants to stay in one of the more warm climates, which Vegas has that. New, New York and
Old
New
man
England do
Brady needs
not.
warmth.
Well, yeah, I know it sounds kind of, ridiculous, but that's part of it. And Vegas is a very attractable destination. And let's be honest, Shane, The Raiders have problems as far as like keeping their players in line. You know what I mean? As far
Brady
as
would change that a
issues
little bit.
yes, issues with the law, issues with just craziness going on in Vegas. Who better in the NFL to shape them all up and keep them in line as a player and fellow teammate than Tom Brady?
Yeah, I mean, Tom Brady's chewed out a lot of people before, so. I'm just saying,
Oh, the
I've seen that man on
slander.
his sidelines, and he gets heated.
Yes, much more so than Peyton Manning. You've only seen Peyton Manning really get heated one time.
Peyton Manning has chewed out his own lineman because his own lineman tried to call a play, and Peyton was not happy with that.
I remember that. I remember that. Just call them.
Oh, man.
Okay, Texans.
Texans are going to go in the draft and get CJ Stroud.
I think they're going to take Bryce Young. I
Oh,
don't think the Bears are
Bryce
going
Young. I meant Bryce Young, yeah.
They're going to get Bryce Young. And to jump on that, the next team up we have is the Colts. They're going to get CJ Stroud. Because Stroud has declared for the draft, the Colts don't need to worry about trading up with the Bears.
Yeah, I mean, let's see here. Yeah, because the Colts have what? Pick number 4? Yeah, pick number 4.
Uh-huh.
Bears have number 1. You guys aren't worried. Stroud is now declared, so Texans are going to take Bryce Young unless the Colts desperately want Bryce Young,
Mm-hmm.
which I don't really see happening. I don't know if you see that happening at all.
I don't think so. I think they'll take Stroud.
Yeah. And then Arizona will probably go defense, and then Colts will grab a quarterback for the future.
Yep. I think so. Washington Commanders are next. I think they're done with Carson Wentz.
Oh yeah, no, the Carson Wentz thing was just a temporary hold.
Yep. I think they will either try their luck in the draft, or they will try and get Jimmy Garoppolo.
I was gonna say, I feel like Jimmy G would come over to Washington. I mean, cause looking at the quarterbacks, there's C.J. Stroud, Bryce Young. What other quarterbacks would you say?
Will Levis from Kentucky. I don't know if Max Duggan from TCU is doing it.
Will
Yeah, those are
Levis
the
will
only ones
probably
I
be
can
gone
really
because
think of.
the Commanders have pick number 16, so they're picking in the very middle of the draft.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's like you have the Seahawks, the Lions, the Raiders, the Falcons, the Panthers, who will probably go for a new quarterback. Atlanta might go for a new quarterback because I don't think Desmond Ritter's the answer down there.
No, no. Anthony Richardson from Florida is another one.
Right.
You have Cam Ward from Washington State, Jaron Hall from BYU, Hendon Hooker from Tennessee as an option, but he did tear his ACL, so I don't know if they really will end up taking someone like him. But a couple
Yeah,
of
but
options
but
there.
some of these people could probably go to the second round.
Yes. Yeah, no, I would agree.
All right. Now we got your personal favorite.
Green Bay Packers.
Oh
I think
boy.
they're gonna find a way to keep Aaron Rodgers. If they don't, then it'll be Jordan Love. Can I just say that, and we can move on from that one? Don't you
Yeah.
think there's no other way around that? One of
Love or
those two.
Rogers.
Yep. The Saints, I think they're stuck.
I think they're stuck
I think,
too.
I
Man,
think they might be stuck with Winston.
I feel bad for that though, cause I'm.
They could take a bet on getting Teddy Bridgewater again, because Bridgewater was capable while Drew Brees was hurt. That would be my other expectation, because you've got other players here like Sam Darnold and Daniel Jones who are technically free agents. The Giants will keep Jones. The Panthers will keep Darnold. Um, you know
Gino.
what I
The
mean?
Seahawks, I think, will keep Gino because Gino did
Oh, they'll keep
great for
Gino for
them.
sure. Yeah. The Saints may hold on to Andy Dalton, just as a backup.
Yeah. Lamar Jackson, we've already discussed. Yeah, most
Mhm.
of these guys are just like second or third string guys that you don't even hear about anymore.
Yep. So that leaves us with the Falcons. They're going to take Anthony Richardson or Will Levis. They're going to take one of them in the
Yep,
draft.
rookie.
And if Brady leaves the Buccaneers, they will first try and find someone in free agency. It's
That's a
probably
good
not going to
way.
be very good. It's probably not going to be very good. Honestly, Teddy Bridgewater may end up becoming the starter in that regard. Or, hear me out, they get Baker Mayfield from the Rams.
I was gonna say, I feel like the Buccaneers would either go for someone who is currently a backup that was a previous
Mm-hmm.
starter, or just take a risk on a second, third round quarterback.
Yep, I think you're right.
They're one of those teams that's just in a bad position. They got a late round draft pick. Brady is gonna leave. I don't think they're gonna keep Brady there with all the money that they have tied up in other players.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'd be surprised if they keep Brady in Tampa.
Yeah, I mean it could happen, but I feel like we're talking about the future of Tom Brady. It's two things that can happen: one, retirement; second is another team. I think his time with Tampa Bay is over.
Yeah, I mean, he already talked about retiring before this season, and that lasted about a month, and then he unretired.
Exactly. So that's that. Now we move into our For the Fun, which is the undisputed favorite or favorites. We're talking about who we think are the best top three quarterbacks in each of the NFL divisions for this season. So we're actually going to be listing all the quarterbacks in each division who have had ample playing time and therefore are on this list. So, for example, in the AFC East, our candidates are Josh Allen and Case Keenum from the Bills, Tua Tagovailoa, Teddy Bridgewater, and Skylar Thompson from the Dolphins, Zach Wilson and Mike White from the Jets, and Mac Jones and Bailey Zappi from the Patriots. Shane, numbers 1, 2, and 3, who do you got? We'll see if
Josh
I
Allen's
agree.
number one. I feel like that's the clear cut, obvious answer.
Easily. Easily.
Number two, whoops. Number two, I would say, I would go with, honestly, I would go with Tua. I feel like Tua was
I
just
would too.
too good for his team.
Yep, I go with Tua as well. Number 3, it gets tough. I'm not a fan of a lot of these options, but I feel like number 3, I have to go with Mac Jones. I'll take him over Zach Wilson.
Here's the thing. I think I would take Mike White over Matt Jones.
I feel like Jones, if he's on a really, really good team, is more consistent than Mike White. So that's why I got Jones. That makes sense?
Yeah, I mean, my personal opinion on Jones is that he's very much a game manager.
He is, absolutely. But that's
He's
what
not
the
someone that you
Patriots
would
need.
want to trust your team with, but if you need someone
Right.
who's able to just follow the playbook and do what Bill Belichick says, he's your man.
I agree. Hey, AFC North.
Ooh, we got Kenny Pickett, Mitchell Trubisky, everybody's personal favorite, Lamar Jackson, Tyler Huntley, Deshaun Watson, gosh, Jacoby Brissett, and Joe Burrow.
Number 1, hear me out here. I'm going to have to go with Lamar Jackson.
I think I was gonna agree with you, honestly.
Okay, cool. Because here's the thing: the Ravens don't do well unless they have Lamar. I feel like nowadays, now originally, no way, but nowadays, if Joe Burrow is not the starter, the Bengals have enough going on offense that they can make it work.
Right.
Everything is anchored through Lamar Jackson for the Ravens. So Lamar at number 1, Joe Burrow at number 2.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Which I know he's definitely not in form the way he used to be, but number 3 has to be Deshaun Watson. I feel like if he gets back up to that point, yeah, he definitely belongs in that number 3 spot, way before any of these other options.
Yeah, I was like, I'm just looking at the other options. I'm just like, I think Deshaun just goes there based off a default at this point.
Yep, I agree. So going on to the AFC West, we've got Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, Derek Carr, Jarrett Stidham, Russell Wilson, and Brett Ripien. It's no question number 1 here is Patrick Mahomes.
Oh yeah,
And
our man.
because of the rest of the options there, Justin Herbert has to be number 2.
Right.
But who is number 3?
This is where I feel like it gets a little tricky because none of these quarterbacks are necessarily bad. So I think it really comes down to between Derek Carr and Russell Wilson.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like as far as what their future looks like and what their abilities still are present and whatnot, I'm going to go with Russell Wilson.
I think I have to agree for the main reason. Yes, Wilson and the Broncos did not do great this season, but once they fired
Mm-hmm.
their head coach, they were getting like 20 to 30-point games every single week.
Exactly.
So it's like, I kind of feel like it's the head coach on this one.
Yep, I agree. AFC South, we've got Davis Mills, Kyle Allen, Trevor Lawrence, Ryan Tannehill, Malik Willis, Josh Dobbs, Matt Ryan, Nick Foles, Sam Ehlinger. Breathe. I think this one's bad. Wait till we get to the NFC West.
Oh my gosh. Well, here's the thing. I feel like there's only one quarterback on this list with an actual future on an NFL team. And that's Trevor Lawrence.
Really? You're not gonna go with Josh Dobbs? Just kidding.
No, no, I'm not even gonna go with Sam Ellinger.
Yeah, no, and I'd say number 2 is Ryan Tannehill. I just feel like he's really
Yeah,
the only other somewhat capable option here. Now, if he's able to figure out what the heck went wrong this season, I feel like the number 3 option should be Matt Ryan.
yeah, but my thing is, I don't know if Matt Ryan's really gonna stick around for too much longer.
Yeah, I still feel like he's just better than these other options here. That just shows how
Hmm.
unimpressive the quarterback roster is in the AFC South. You have Trevor Lawrence, and then you have everyone else.
Man, does it feel weird to say my team has the best quarterback? Oh man, yeah, no, I think I agree with you, Matt Ryan. It's an ugly pick, and I don't like it, but you gotta do what
Oh,
you gotta do.
yeah. Yep. NFC East: Jalen Hurts, Gardner Minshew, Dak Prescott, Cooper Rush, Carson Wentz, Taylor Heineke, and Daniel Jones.
I'm going
This
with
one's
Jalen
interesting.
Hurts.
I think you have to at number 1. I feel like he's got the most promise there, and I feel like number 2 should be Dak Prescott, though.
Yeah, I think I can agree with that. Gotta love Dak.
Num- Number 3. Now, here's the thing. Part of me wants to go with Daniel Jones at number 3 because Dable has figured out how to unlock his potential. Carson
Right.
Wentz is downhill. Heineke is always designated for a backup role. Same with Cooper Rush. Minshew could be a starter, but I feel like as of right now, who's got more promise between Minshew and Daniel Jones? It's Daniel Jones.
Yeah, especially after the week he just had in the playoffs. So
Yes, absolutely. NFC North: Aaron Rodgers, Jordan Love, Kirk Cousins, Justin Fields, Nathan Peterman, Trevor Siemian, and Jared Goff. I feel like at the end of the day, no, it wasn't a good year for him, but still the best quarterback in the NFC North is Aaron Rodgers.
oh my gosh. How do you want to grade this? You want to grade this? You want me to grade this based off just this season?
I mean, we kind of have to. That's part of the problem.
I'm like, if we are going just off this season, I think Aaron Rodgers isn't even in the top three.
If we're going off just this season, Jared Goff is probably number 1 in
I
my
was gonna
book.
say, I think Jared Goff would probably be number one.
Yeah. Number 2 in my book, especially if we're going off this season. Yeah, you're right. Aaron Rodgers probably doesn't completely go on this. I don't know. I'd still. Ah, you know what? I'm just gonna go out and I say it. We'll take Aaron Rodgers off this list. Um, no, number two. Let's go with Kirk Cousins. When he plays well, things go well. Number 2, and he's the only one on this list that made the playoffs. So number 2, Kirk Cousins.
I feel like you have to put that, but I really want to put someone else at number two.
If you're going with Justin Fields, I put him at number 3.
Yeah, I was gonna go with Justin Fields because the only reason I feel like Fields did not do as good as the other two is that look at the other two's teams compared to Justin Fields' offense.
This is true. They had definitely better potential
Cousins has
than Fields did.
Jefferson and Dalvin Cook. Goff has Amon-Ra St. Brown and DeAndre Swift slash Jamal Williams. So very talked about running backs and wide receivers from both teams. You move on to the Bears, no offense. You guys have what?
Nothing
Darnell
there.
Mooney and Khalil
He was
Herbert?
Darnell Mooney was out in week 11. Khalil Herbert was out for half the season.
My point. No offense,
Yeah.
but it's like what big name do you see a lot of people naming when you think of a Bears player that's a receiver or a running back?
No one. It's just Justin Fields. I mean, David Montgomery and Khalil Herbert did fine, but they weren't at the top. That's for sure.
Right. And I think we got to put him at number 3 because he himself kept you guys in the games.
Uh huh.
So I love to see what you guys do when he actually has a weapon or two that he's not the only focus on offense, that focus is on a wide receiver, a elite tight end, or an elite running back to take the pressure off of him a little bit.
Right. No, I'd agree with that.
Especially,
Okay.
watching Justin Fields break away sometimes this season. That was
That was
boy,
fun
that
to
man
watch.
moved.
All right, NFC West. Oh boy, here we go. Geno Smith, Trey Lance, Jimmy Garoppolo, Brock Purdy, Matthew Stafford, Baker Mayfield, Bryce Perkins, Kyler Murray, Colt McCoy, and David Blau. Woo!
I'm going based off just this season for this one. So for me, that's taking off Trey Lance and Jimmy G. They just didn't play long enough. They got injured too early.
Or I think Garoppolo could at least deserve some consideration. But
Uh,
here, at number one, I have to go with Geno Smith.
I was gonna say I'm like Geno's got to be number one for the NFC West, which feels weird, but he's played so good this season.
Right. Number two, just because he basically kept them undefeated the entire time he was the starter, is Brock Purdy.
Heck yeah, man! I want so many good things to happen for this man.
Me too. Number three, this is tough. Kyler Murray didn't have a great season before he got injured. Same with Matthew Stafford. Baker Mayfield wasn't that impressive for the Rams. I mean, do you go with Garoppolo?
I don't think I can go with Garoppolo.
Yeah.
I would say like even though Murray wasn't very impressive, I think he was still like the best because Stafford had a Super Bowl hangover like nobody's seen.
Right. And may I add this too? I mean, yes, it's the 49ers team. It's very good. But only 2 games were lost by Garoppolo. Now, granted, one was his fault because he pulled a Dan Orlovsky,
Poor Garoppolo.
but he only did lose 2 games.
Yeah, I mean, man, this is one that I'm just kind of torn on because the Cardinals were bad this year,
They were.
and I'm trying.
I, I
Ugh.
I'm going with Jimmy G. I can't in good conscience pick Kyler Murray or Matthew Stafford this year.
I think I gotta agree with you. Kyler Murray needs to lay off the Call of Duty.
Yeah, right. He's had plenty of time to do it though right now.
Oh, he's probably gotten every single thing he needed to do, and now he's just playing just to do whatever.
Right.
NFC South. Oh gosh.
This
How
one's
do we
so
have
bad.
3 teams in the NFC East, and we get to the rest of the NFC, and I'm like, wow, there's no good quarterbacks here.
Right. Okay, so we've got Jameis Winston, Andy Dalton, Desmond Ritter, Marcus Mariota, Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield, who's on here twice, obviously, PJ Walker, and Tom Brady.
Why
Shane,
is this so bad?
you have to pick Brady at number
You
one.
do, but I mean, Brady's had a horrible season. I'm just like, we're picking Brady despite the season he had because there's just nobody else.
Right? If I have to go with a
Uh,
number two, I feel like my number two is simple enough, and that's Sam Darnold. He gave the Panthers a spark.
yeah, I just don't love it, but there's
I don't,
nothing.
but
There's nothing.
what else is there? You know what I mean?
There's nothing.
There's nothing.
It's all gone.
If
I
I
don't even
have
want
to
to
go
put
with
in number
number
3 because nobody's deserving.
right, but the problem is we got to pick a number three, and I only feel like I can go with Andy Dalton. It hurts, but I feel like I have to go with him. He's
See,
won 7 games.
how, I'm just like, do I want to even risk saying Jameis Winston?
No, you don't.
Ugh, fine. I don't even want to look at this anymore. This is making me sick.
Rough for the NFC South.
Very rough.
Rough, rough,
Every single one of these teams is going for a quarterback this off season, if they even can. We talked about how, like, the Saints are probably stuck with Jameis Winston for another year.
yeah. All right.
Oh my gosh. This is so bad. It's so bad. But we made it through the quarterbacks. It started out great, and I was loving like all the quarterback talk. And then we got to the NFC, and it went south real fast.
Yep.
Oh man. But that will conclude this week's episode, and we will look forward to the divisional matchup and see who moves on to play in the championships.
It'll be good.
It'll be so good. I'm so excited.
Mm-hmm.
All right, but with that, everyone, we will see you guys next time.
Have a good night.